Hello there, and welcome to my series, The Unfinished Arcs of Star Wars The Clone Wars. In this video we will be covering the third unfinished story arc, Dark Disciple. Please note there will be spoilers for the Dark Disciple novel, the Son of Dathomir comic, and the Bad Batch. Back when this and the Saving Vos story arc were planned as episodes for Star Wars The Clone Wars, they were two separate story arcs. When the novel adaptation happened in 2015, this story arc was merged with the Saving Vos arc and became the story included in the Dark Disciple novel. I will thus refer to this video half as Dark Disciple, the latter arc as Saving Vos, and when talking about the novel specifically I will refer to it as the Dark Disciple novel to make a clear distinction. Saving Vos will get its own separate video. In 2014, this was the fifth story arc to be left unfinished, but due to the final season in 2020 completing both the third and fourth story arcs, Ahsoka's Walkabout and the Bad Batch, this one has now become the third. Taking up production code 613 to 616, following on from the original Bad Batch arcs 609 to 612, this story arc was intended to be the second story arc from the 420 episode originally planned 7th season, airing as episodes 5 to 8 of that season, which presumably would have aired in the fall/autumn of 2014, around the time when Star Wars Rebels premiered. This story arc brings the focus back to Asajj Ventress after we last saw her in Season 5, while also bringing back Quinlan Vos since he last appeared in Season 3's The Hunt for Zero. While Dark Disciple was released as the first half of the Dark Disciple novel, as it was never finished on screen, it still technically counts as being unfinished. Especially considering the recent practice of novels and comics getting elements of them retconned with newer on-screen stories. This story arc and Saving Vos are unique in the fact that they have three writers, with Katie Lucas, then head writer Matt Michonetz and Dave Filoni all co-writing the scripts. The story arc was adapted and tweaked for its novel form by Christie. Sadly, the directors for these 4 episodes were never confirmed. This story arc, alongside its other half, is regarded by many as a story that deserves to be on screen. Opening up the story arc, we have the first episode titled Leave for the Alliance, that establishes the frustrations of the Jedi Council with the ever-growing violence of the Separatists. They make a decision the Jedi wouldn't make lightly, to assassinate Count Dooku. They decide Quinlan Vos will be the one to carry out this task, but first he would need help from the one person who knows more about Dooku than anyone, Asajj Ventress. Quinlan would travel to 1313 to try to locate Ventress, only to discover other bounty hunters such as Boba Fett, Bosk and Latz Razzie, who tells him that the bald Banshee is currently chasing a bounty on Pantora. Here we cut to Pantora, seeing the planet's environment for the first time in the show after it was cut from Season 3's Sphere of Influence. We were shown this in a story reel clip at Celebration 2015 with the Untold Clone Wars panel.
There's my Volpa.
This should be easy.
It's called a tackle.
Who are you?
Relax. I've got this one, honey.
Honey?
In the clip, we can see that Ventress has yet again had another design update. This time she is now sporting bleached blonde hair and is now equipped with a Night Sister bow. It's described that Ventress used to shave her head to show her loyalty to the Sith. Now that she was no longer loyal, she let her hair grow back out. Ventress isn't the only one with a new design, with Quinlan Vos also now sporting a new dark outfit called Bounty Hunter Disguise by the design sheet. This design was clearly inspired by the now Legends Quinlan Vos comics, with this story arc going on to adapt some of its darker themes. Back to the story, the chase would continue with Vos continuing to disrupt Ventress and annoying her. During the chase, we'd see them run past the statue of the creator of Star Wars himself, Chairman Papanoida, who was played by George Lucas in Revenge of the Sith. At some point, Ventress commandeers a vehicle. At another point during the episode, Ventress ignites her new yellow-bladed lightsaber. Here is the design sheet for this lightsaber's design. Based on concept art, we can see at least 5 designs were considered for this lightsaber's hilt. The majority of the episode would be focused on the chase, with Quinlan trying to convince Ventress that he is a trainee bounty hunter wanting her to teach him. Eventually catching her Volapai bounty and ignoring his pleas, Ventress would reluctantly agree to train Quinlan as a bounty hunter. Returning back to her new starfighter, the Banshee, with Quinlan and her bounty, the episode would end. The second episode, The Mission, will presumably start on Coruscant, with Ventress making modifications to the Banshee, while Quinlan meets with Obi-Wan to discuss his progress. During this episode, we'd have seen the cockpit of the Banshee for the first time, with his design labelled to this episode. Here are further designs of the Banshee showing the different parts of its interior. While on 1313, Ventress and Quinlan would take a job from Pike crime boss Marg Krim. This job would be to rescue his family from the Black Sun of Mustafar. Here we learn about his wife Tezca Krim and his 2 children, Lali and Vram. On Mustafar, Ventress and Vos rent a couple of lava fleas and visit a bar called The Last Resort, where they interrogate a Black Sun guard. Here is concept art of the Mustafar mining town that was released to the public. This episode would have given us the return of the Black Sun Fortress first seen in Season 5, with Ventress and Quinlan entering the fortress via an exposed balcony. Finding the Pike children but not their mother, we flee on the lava fleas back to the Banshee, but not before Quinlan gets shot, dropping Vram and having to use his force powers to carry him back to safety. Back at the Banshee, and with Ventress tending to his wound, Quinlan, using psychometry on Lali's locket, detects that Tezca is still in the fortress, being a prisoner of Zitum Moj, the Black Sun's leader. Ventress, causing a distraction by pretending to be a negotiator, allows Quinlan to free Tezca from her cell. After a struggle with the Black Sun forces, they are able to escape Mustafar and return to Obadiah. Ventress, getting double pay, leaves with Quinlan while witnessing the Black Sun exit hyperspace above Obadiah to deal with the Pikes. Quinlan, being burdened with being unable to protect Markrim's family, is honest with Ventress and reveals that he is actually a Jedi. Ventress, having already caught on to this fact, listens to Quinlan as he tells her the Jedi Council's mission of wanting to kill Dooku and wanting Ventress's help in doing so. Ventress, trusting and respecting Vos after all they've been through, sees this as an opportunity to finally get back at her former master, agreeing to help, but warns that it will all be for nothing if they don't use the dark side of the Force to assist them. Quinlan informs Obi-Wan of the new development, with Obi-Wan warning Quinlan to be wary of Ventress' manipulative nature. We start the third episode, Conspirators, with Ventress and Quinlan travelling to Dathomir. Here the two get to learn about each other's past, forming a deeper connection. Quinlan struggles to fully embrace the dark side, so Ventress pushes him over the edge by claiming that Dooku killed his old master Fulm. Under Ventress' teachings, Quinlan undergoes a rigorous training regime that exposes him to the Night Sister culture. This includes killing a snake, which we have a brief story reel clip of. Ventress later gains word from one of her informants, Sumdin, that Dooku is planning to visit Raxus, while Quinlan is able to eventually tame and kill the Dathomirian sleeper, completing his training. With Quinlan failing to meet up with Obi-Wan, Obi-Wan shares his concerns with Yoda, Yoda reassures Obi-Wan that Quinlan has undergone many undercover missions in the past and is confident in what he is doing. Arriving at Raxus, Ventress kills Sundin to prevent anything leaking about their mission. This horrifies Quinlan. Ventress decides to change into a ball gown to blend more into the crowd, which we can see in this design. Ventress and Quinlan traverse towards a large public square where Dooku, accompanied by General Grievous, is making a speech. Here we have concept art of the square. We also have a brief story reel clip of Dooku giving the speech. Once the speech is over, Grievous and Dooku separate, with the latter attending a large public feast. Here is when Ventress decides to sneak up on Dooku, whispering "Hello Master," which we also have a silent unvoiced story reel clip of. Not wanting to cause a public scene, Ventress challenges Dooku to meet her on the Raxus building overlook for a quote-unquote fair fight later in the evening. Dooku, however, has secret plans and has requested that General Grievous also meet him there, planning to ambush Ventress. Quinlan sabotages this plan, however, having a brief duel with Grievous before locking him in a cupboard. Later that night, Dooku calls Ventress a failure for coming alone before Quinlan shows up. As Dooku fails to get a hold of Grievous, Ventress and Quinlan engage him in a lightsaber duel. Here we can see the storyboards created for this duel, showing the background scenery having fireworks in the night sky, which would have most likely been a real visual treat. Dooku eventually gains the upper hand by hurling Ventress against a stone bench, angering Quinlan. With Dooku continuing to taunt him, Quinlan is overwhelmed with Dooku's force lightning. Amidst the chaos, Ventress leads into the Raxus sewers while Quinlan is taken prisoner. Starting the final episode of this arc, we have the episode title being this story arc's namesake, with Dooku transporting Quinlan to Sereno where he is locked in a cell. Quinlan is tortured by Dooku, who intends to complete his fall to the dark side. Back at the Jedi Temple, many of Quinlan's colleagues have become concerned, worried that his lack of contact means he is either been killed or become disillusioned from the light side of the Force. Ventress, needing help to rescue Quinlan, travels to Chalmun's spaceport Cantina on Tatooine to enlist the help of Boba and his crew. While on Sereno, Dooku is able to turn Quinlan against Ventress by showing him a hologram of Ventress killing Fulm. Quinlan is then forced to use his psychometry on Master Fulm's lightsaber to confirm this, feeling the painful wound of Ventress's red-bladed lightsabers that were inflicted on his master. Ventress and Boba's crew arrive on Sereno to rescue Quinlan. Here we would have most likely seen Sereno City for the first time, which included a spaceport. Boba and his crew set up a distraction to lure out Dooku, which was the last story reel clip from this story arc revealed to us. The clip confirms that this arc is indeed set after the Bounty Hunter arc, with Boba already having his original trilogy armour, which is also collaborated with the appearance of Slave One in the novel, seemingly confirming he has regained it back from Hondo. The fight with Dooku and the Bounty Hunters is a nod to a scene from Time Bandits, with Dooku spinning around the characters like a scene from that movie. Ventress, traversing through Dooku's palace, encounters a vengeful Quinlan in his cell, who is enraged at Ventress for lying about who killed Fulm. Ventress is unable to reason with Quinlan, who begins attacking her with his saber. Ventress, being unsuccessful, is forced to flee with the other bounty hunters, seeing Quinlan as the new apprentice of Dooku. Returning to Coruscant, Ventress meets with Obi-Wan and informs him that Quinlan has fallen to the dark side and is now Dooku's new apprentice. Here is where this story arc ends. While the Dark Disciple novel continued the story straight away, the show would have split it in two, with 3 other story arcs planned to air in between, pushing the Saving Vos half to the start of Season 8. At some point during this episode, we would have seen Silverware, which I presume would have been one of the scenes with Dooku interrogating Quinlan. At the time of the cancellation, this story arc had story reels created for all 4 of its episodes, which included character vehicle and location models. But sadly, it was the first to not include final voice acting, with Nika Futterman confirming in multiple interviews since that they were just about to start the sessions when they were sadly halted. Though, Daniel Logan most likely recorded his brief scenes of dialogue during the Bounty Hunter arc sessions, considering he probably didn't have enough dialogue to be worth bringing in alongside the main cast of this arc. Christie Golden confirmed she had been given the full scripts and story reels for this arc's 4 episodes, alongside just the scripts for the Saving Vos arc. The design for Ventress's Banshee will later be repurposed and updated for Ketsu's starfighter in Star Wars Rebels, the Shadowcaster, with it being referred to as the Banshee during Rebels production. The design for Ventress's lightsaber hilt was going to be used for one half of Maul's dual-bladed lightsaber in the finalised 2020 version of the Siege of Mandalore arc, where Maul had fused it together with the half of his original saber that was seen in previous Clone Wars episodes. While the lightsaber was seen on the Dark Disciple novel's cover art, I can see them using one of the other designs that they came up with during the concept stages if they complete this story on screen, or alternatively they could just explain that multiple black market sabers have the same hilt design, or that Maul found Ventress's saber on Dathomir after the events of the Saving Vos arc. Extra parts of the story were added with the novel adaptation, including the introduction scene with the planet Marini. The characters of Akar Deshu and Lassa Rain were created by Christie Golden for the novel adaptation, hence why I have not included them in the story overviews of each episode, and if this story arc was to ever be animated, I believe they would not be included, due to them most likely sticking closer to the original source scripts. This also means the extermination of the Maran species was also something created for the Dark Disciple novel. It's rumoured, though not confirmed, that Dooku would have originally wiped out the Togrutas instead, as revenge for them being freed from slavery in Season 4, though the Jedi Council could have just come up with another reason to deem Dooku's assassination necessary. Based on the Dark Disciple novel, Depa Billaba would have appeared via hologram in the opening Jedi Council scenes, confirming that if they did have early plans to kill her off in the previous Crystal Crisis on Utapau arc, then they most likely had enough time to change those plans and include her in this one. Depa's model first showing up as a hologram in the Siege of Mandalore could be a slight nod to what would have essentially been her first on-screen animated appearance since she was cut from said Crystal Crisis arc. Count Dooku's Dark Ritual outfit that first appeared in the Season 6 episode Sacrifice would have reappeared in this story arc. While the story arc's appearance of Pantora and Raxus never got finished, we would later see them finished in the first season of the Bad Batch. Season 2 of the Bad Batch would also give us our first on-screen appearance of Sereno City, sadly now destroyed by the Empire, with the actual episode, Dark Disciple, having meant to show us the city during the war before its destruction. While not directly the same, Omega in the Bad Batch has also got a bow, but while Ventress's one was Dathomirian, Omega's one is Zygerian. The Dark Disciple novel was going to get a unique cover art for its Brazilian release. Created by Bruno Richter, this artwork shows full detailed versions of Ventress and Vos with a backdrop of an orange Dathomir, compared to the more grayscale artwork that the novel got elsewhere. For unknown reasons, this artwork and the Brazilian release as a whole was cancelled. The only somewhat retcon to have happened from this story is the status of Mark Krim. The Dark Disciple novel heavily implied that the Black Sun will kill him for what happened in the events of the mission, but now we know he's alive thanks to Ahsoka's walkabout now having been moved in the timeline to take place after this story, as well as his hologram cameo in the Siege of Mandalore. I feel like it is now likely that the Mandalorians, headed by Olmec due to Maul being imprisoned by Palpatine at the time, intercepted this altercation before it escalated, with Mark Krim now surviving this event. Son of Dathomir seemed to keep continuity with this story arc's original implication, as Fife seemed to be leading the Pikes by the time of that story arc. This story arc is the second out of 4 story arcs that are vital to be finished on screen. Personally, it is one of my favourite stories of all of Star Wars, and out of every unfinished arc, I wish this one and its second half, Saving Vos, would get the animated treatment the most. It is vital for Asajj Ventress, who is introduced on screen, to get her final arc in the original format it was intended to. allowing Nika Futterman the opportunity to conclude the story of the character she gave a lot to during the run of the original show. I really hope they complete this story arc in animation one day, whether that be alongside other arcs in the spin-off show, as an animated special alongside its other half, or as an 8-part standalone series alongside Saving Vos. The next unfinished story arc would continue the adventures of Clone Force 99, potentially showing us Echo's early days with them before everything would change. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed, please like, subscribe and comment. Until the next time, goodbye.